Okay. Well, welcome and thank you for joining us. We also want to thank the NWIRC and Steel Valley Authority for inviting us to present today. This is a second in a three-part webinar series happening in May. Our last presentation will be next week on redefining the new norm for business continuity. And that's going to be the same time frame, 3 to 3:30, 3:45 for next week. So it should be a good session. Before we get started, I'm going to do a little shameless plug about TechWorx. For those of you who are unfamiliar with us, TechWorx is a MSP or managed service provider. Essentially, we act as your IT department if you don't have one, or an extension of your IT department if you do. We specialize in three main areas: infrastructure, cloud, and security. We work with many organizations in the region, both for-profit and nonprofit, and a large percentage of our business is in the manufacturing space. Today, we have 4 employees with TechWorx here to answer your questions. I'm Mike Estridge, Marketing Manager, and will be your main presenter. We've got Rick Gagnon, who's an account executive and co-presenter with a live demo we're going to do a little bit later. Guy White, our service manager, who's here to answer any technical questions, and Janelle Schallenberger, account executive, who is going to be our moderator and helping to field questions if we need assistance in that. So if y'all want to chime in and say hi.
Good afternoon, everybody. This is Rick Gagnon, and thank you for coming and joining. And again, I put up in the chat, if you have any questions, just type them in right there and we'll get to you as quick as we possibly can.
Good afternoon, everyone. This is Janelle. Thank you for joining. I hope everybody is doing well and looking forward to going through this information with you. Like Rick said, if you have any questions, feel free to reach out and we'll make sure we get in touch.
Excellent. Well, as Rick mentioned earlier, this is an interactive presentation. So again, feel free to ask questions anytime during the presentation in chat, and we'll be able to assist you with answering those. If we don't get to your question, or if you have a specific question, we can always follow up with you afterwards. So give me one more second. I got some people who are jumping in here. Excellent. So before we begin, I'm going to have Rick put up a quick poll. I'm kind of curious, are you currently using collaboration tools in your company? Yes, no, maybe, I don't know. So Rick, pop that up and we'll come back to that a little bit later. So we're here today to talk about virtual collaboration tools and to give you some tips and tricks on how to best use them. And at the end of this presentation, as I mentioned earlier, we'll do a live demo to teach you some cool things we've learned with Microsoft Teams that you can utilize at your organization. So let's step back a second. So prior to this whole COVID pandemic, back in 2018, a study found that 40% of companies with less than 100 employees were using some sort of collaboration tool beyond just email. It later stated that most of those who had said, yes, we're using a collaboration tool, were doing so for flexible work policies for remote workers. And of those same companies, they also wanted to find out, well, are you using this for project management? And it was about 23% of respondents said, yes, we use collaboration tools for project management. So that meant that, enhanced utilization of collaboration tools in general was kind of a limited use. And, when you think about where that was most likely used, it was probably specific divisions of companies like engineering departments or companies that were very forward thinking when it comes to technology and on the cusp of technology, always trying to do process improvements, things like that. Well, we fast forward to today, almost every organization was hurtled into the world of collaboration tools when we were mandated to work remotely. For some companies, it was an easy transition. They were already embracing these collaboration tools. It was not much different than their day-to-day. They were just working from home versus working at the office. For other companies, it was a whole new world, and it was really challenging. I mean, to make that leap from not using this to I have no choice but to use this, it's a big change. And I'll be honest, as a technology company, having a remote workforce has had us and made us be much more adept and utilizing these collaboration tools than we were before. And it's really helped us during this pandemic, which is kind of counterintuitive if you think about it, but it really has. And so when we emerge from it, we are not going back to the way it was before. So why aren't we going back? So from our experience, here's what we found and what some of our clients who've given us feedback have found. So collaboration tools transformed the way we communicate. It's made us better internal communicators. It's made us better external communicators. We've learned to collaborate remotely, making it much easier for us to do internal and external projects. And we no longer need to search through email chains trying to find documents or put together conversations on clients. It's all in one place, making our jobs much more easy and making us much more productive. We also are more focused, so we have a better vision of what's needed to be accomplished and by whom. And lastly, our productivity skyrocketed. Even with all the distractions at home, I don't know about you, but I've got young kids and a puppy and a cat, and yeah, it's just chaos at home. So being able to have tools that help me stay focused when I'm working remotely has been critical. So these collaboration tools have allowed us to have the flexibility we need and have mimicked a lot of what we would typically have had in the office. For example, if I needed to go talk to Sean, our operations manager, I used to get up, walk down the hall, knock on his door, see if he's available to sit down. Sometimes he's on his cell phone, sometimes he's on the other phone. It was really kind of tough to catch, is he available? He's not. Now, if I need to catch a hold of him, I can easily see his online status. I can do a quick chat to say, hey, I just need to run this one thing by you. Or if I need to have a kind of more personal call, I can do a quick conference call at a click of a button, and we're connected. We're talking through a problem or we're talking through a solution. It's things that we can do collaboratively that we would have been able to do in the office anyways. And we can easily bring external partners and clients into this collaboration process too with projects. That's been a huge area for us to really embrace. And it's improved our client understanding of project timelines. It's given us the ability to hold everyone accountable, both internally and externally, on information and updates. And in addition, we know that the data we're sharing and communicating with outside organizations remains secure and confidential. So, it's really, really important to be able to say, okay, can these help us? So let's look at, what are these transformational collaboration tools? So there's a couple different areas they go into. So mind mapping, which is basically brainstorming, is where you're sharing ideas. You're using this to kind of whiteboard and figure out, okay, what do I need to do on a project? What do we need to do as an organization? Similar to what you'd be doing in your conference rooms that you'd be doing remotely. File sharing, very important, especially with remote work, is having accessibility to files anywhere and everywhere. And as we start to use more and more mobility, even when we get back, that file sharing and accessibility is going to be key. Real-time communication, video calls, it's the second best thing to in-person. That really makes a difference for keeping up with your employees, keeping up with projects you have to do internally, to have that face-to-face, and with keeping up with clients. Shared calendars, that's kind of a given, making sure you're letting everyone know availability. And then the management features, in order to be able to keep a pulse on the organization, that's what these collaboration tools really, really assist you and help you do. So I'm going to pause here for a second. Rick, what was our results off that survey we put out?
Sorry, Mike, I was muted there. We had 2 responses, and both were yes in the idea that they are currently using collaboration tools within their company.
Nice. Thank you. So you may not understand what is and what isn't a collaboration tool. So let me give you some examples of collaboration tools that are here. So file sharing, so that would be like cloud storage and document collaboration. If you've used Teams and SharePoint, those are Microsoft products that are kind of linked for cloud storage. There is Google, which is Google Drive, Google Cloud Storage, and Dropbox. And then on the communication side, video conferencing, again, there's Teams. There is Google Meet, which is formerly Google Hangouts. There is Zoom, which most of us probably use to call our families. Cisco WebEx and GoToMeeting are kind of the more common ones. And then when you get into project and task management, there's Slack, there's Cisco WebEx, and then there is the Microsoft suite again with Teams, Microsoft Planner, Microsoft Project. So let's ask a new question. After seeing these examples of different types of collaboration tools and seeing, okay, oh, I didn't realize Dropbox was, how many have you used Dropbox tools before that maybe you didn't think you were? So we can answer yes, no, or maybe you're still unsure, but let's see where that goes. Put up that poll, Rick, and we'll go from there.
Yeah, just real quick, Mike, update on the responses. Charlie and Laura both got an error code on the form. So I talked with them in the chat. They both said that they're using it. So that doubles the responses, and all 4 are at a yes. I'll put up the new question. We'll see if we get an error code. But if they do, go ahead and feel free just to type in your answer in the chat. We apologize. It wouldn't be a live. It wouldn't be a live. It wouldn't be a live presentation without something going wrong.
Always fun. All right, cool. Thank you. All right, so why invest in collaboration software, or why increase your investment in collaboration software tools if you're already using them? So one of the biggest reasons to invest in these tools, it gives you, again, a pulse on the business. Once your organization gets to a certain size, you can no longer keep your finger on everything. And collaboration tools give you the key performance indicators, those KPIs that you need. They give you dashboards, and they give you the communication tools you need to know that projects, and more importantly, the company as a whole, is moving forward on the right pace. You'll also improve your communication both internally and externally. As a side benefit, many companies are finding out that now they can reduce travel for salespeople and also these face-to-face meetings by using video conferencing tools that they weren't so sure before all this happened. Is that still cool? Will we get the same response? Is it still giving me that human element that I get in the face-to-face? Well, now they're finding out, yeah, it's working pretty well. And if we can save a couple hours on drive time, awesome. It's also a great return on your investment. Once you get over the initial learning curve of using these tools, you'll find that your productivity improves and workflows start adapting and changing to even increase that productivity even more. So when we talk about collaboration with online file storage and document sharing, it's one of the most critical pieces of the modern workplace. It can improve the speed of completing projects. It can also give you flexibility for your workforce for accessing data. They can access it anywhere. They can access it from home. They can access it at a client. They can access it at the office. It goes where they go, which is amazing. But there's also this risk. So make sure that you are careful on how and where you're storing some of those documents. We'll get into some examples later, but when you're using online file storage, known as cloud storage, make sure you're using company-approved online cloud storage solutions. Many of you on this webinar are in regulated industries, and not all online file storage companies meet those regulations that you might have to meet. So if you are NIST or HIPAA or SOX, or there's other requirements that you need to have for that data storage, do your homework before you decide on an online or cloud storage solution. And again, make sure whatever is chosen, that it's approved by management and the IT department. It's something that you're using as a whole, not just on your own on a rogue use. When it comes to chat and online meetings, video chat, so video conferencing has increased tenfold as communication tools for remote workers were needed. So we predict, though, that you're probably going to see more video conferencing continue to be utilized after the pandemic subsides, and this will be kind of the new norm. It's actually a great thing for companies as you cut out that drive time again, but again, it still doesn't beat that in person. So it's second best, but everyone's saying, hey, this is awesome right now. I get some human contact, and I get that face-to-face that I've been craving being stuck remote working. But again, be careful. Make sure that you're following company policies and procedures while using chat and online meetings. And also, if you're in a regulated industry, Again, choose the right video conferencing tools. There have been some incidents of video conference crashers who found ways to get around security protocols. So make sure you're using an approved video conferencing provider for your calls through your company. So when you're looking at what's to choose the best software for you and your organization, I mean, the obvious one is capabilities that help you strive for organizational goals or project management goals, things that are going to help you do your job easier. But one of the big things that we want to make sure that we're emphasizing is that security and privacy. So not all collaboration tools have the same security features. So again, make sure you're doing your homework if you have NIST, HIPAA, or SOX. Another big thing, integration. Make sure you're choosing tools that work well with the software you use. You don't want something that's going to be cumbersome or that causes more issues than benefits when you're trying to implement it within your system. And then when it comes to support, look to see what kind of support options they have. You want to make sure that if you're setting these up, that you have some sort of support from implementation all the way through to when you need some day-to-day troubleshooting. And the last is price. And I mentioned this for two reasons. You may already have some collaboration tools at your fingertips that you are already paying for. So there may not be a need to go ahead and get new tools. Maybe it's just understanding the tools that you have. And remember that free always isn't free. A lot of times there are a ton of restrictions or less security features on free or lower level versions of the collaboration software that you might be looking to utilize that could do more harm than good. So it may be worth understanding, what am I getting for my money, where a little bit more a month may make a huge difference on your return on investment. So let me stop here for a quick second. And I want to see, are there any questions?
Mike, most of the chat have been about the error code that they were getting on trying to answer, but we're getting people typing in back and forth. The responses, we've got about 4 on after seeing the examples. Are they using one of these collaboration tools? Is 4 on the positive that they're using that. So go ahead. And again, no other questions other than that so far, but we're here to answer anything that they have.
All right. Well, I'll ask one last poll, and maybe it's easier just to put in the in the chat there if you are. So how many of you are currently using Dropbox for your company, and at what level? Yes, we're using it, and it's the free one. Yes, it's paid by me, or yes, it's paid by my company, or we don't use Dropbox. And there's a reason it's going to come up in about 2 seconds here of why I'm going to ask this. So there is this thing called shadow IT or rogue IT for data sharing. And the reason I bring this up is that it is a big security risk for any type of compliance that your organization needs to maintain. Because if someone's going and sharing data behind the IT department's back, they're not using something that's approved or they didn't get approval for it, then all of a sudden there's a risk for what that user is doing. And Dropbox, as you see the logo down on the bottom, it's a great tool. It's a powerful data sharing tool. But here's my inner geek a little bit. With great power comes great responsibility. So let me talk about a personal example for me with Dropbox. So in the past, prior to joining TechWorx, I was guilty of shadow IT. So I needed to send a file to a client, but the file was too big for email. And no matter how much I condensed it or zipped it, the file was still too big. I had a deadline I needed to get out there. And so I was like, all right, what are we going to do? So we both agreed, hey, we'll sign up for a free Dropbox account and then we'll be able to send that file. Great. So I was able to do that. Mission accomplished. Awesome. But huge fail. So I just went behind any of the approved methods for data sharing. I installed an unapproved software that has access to my computer and access to the network. And the IT department didn't really know about it. Well, welcome to shadow IT. I guarantee right now at your company, it's happening and you may not even know it. So Dropbox has these great free accounts, but they provide no insight to the company of what's being shared and what's going on and who's using them and where's that data being transferred between. And so that's a big risk if that's happening and no one knows about it. So you could be sharing very confidential company information in a platform that is not as secure as you need it to be because there's no way to monitor that. And so now Dropbox does have something where they have an enterprise level where companies and organizations could actually have full transparency by paying for a service to be able to say, okay, here's a service you guys want to be able to share data in and out of the organization. Great. But now we get to see everything that goes back and forth. So you kind of get what you pay for with data sharing. And so this is just an example. There's many other tools that are out there, but I want to make sure that you understand you get what you pay for. A side note, if you are worried about shadow IT in your organization, there is a cool thing that Dropbox does that they can deploy a tool that will show how many active and inactive Dropbox accounts are associated with the organization, how much data is being transferred, where's that data being transferred to. And so you can see what's actually happening behind the scenes with some of the sharing that you may not be aware of. Also, they've got another cool thing where at the enterprise level that I talked about, they can actually do a capture. So if you have those rogue accounts that are out there and you realize, hey, people are utilizing this to share back and forth with clients, I think it would be a good tool, but I don't want them doing it behind our backs, or I don't want them doing it without us knowing what's going in and out. Well, they have a higher level that you can actually capture those rogue accounts, bring them in, and it removes that shadow IT, again, providing the transparency that you need in order to see what's happening with your company's data. It's pretty slick. And if you do that type of level, the users actually don't even see an impact, but now you have control and insight to that data sharing. So when you're looking at the data that's out there and the data sharing capabilities, again, make sure you have a platform that you can gain control of and that you can feel comfortable with. Let's talk about some other types of tools that are for collaboration on the video conferencing side. And so WebEx is a neat tool. WebEx actually has two different levels. So they have WebEx Meetings and WebEx Teams. So WebEx Meetings is just like regular video conferencing and for online events. It's great for if you're doing large group events. WebEx Teams is very similar, competes with Microsoft Teams as far as file sharing, video meeting, whiteboarding, and allows for a lot of screen share. So it's kind of a neat tool on that end. But if you're already looking at what you have, if you already have a Microsoft subscription, you may not want to look into this. You may do if you want something separate. One critical thing with WebEx is that the web app is not supported end-to-end encryption. So if you need support for the end-to-end encryption, that you may be at an issue right there. And even though it is FedRAMP certified, that FedRAMP certified kind of connectivity is not available to the public. So just be aware of that if you're in the NIST or DeFARS programs. Another cool video conferencing tool that it works really well is the Google Meet, which is previously Google Hangout. It's part of the G Suite. G Suite is very similar to Microsoft 365. Now, one thing to note, it is not compliant. So NIST 800-171, ITAR, DeFARS, any of those things that you may need to meet for your organization, Google Meet will not be compliant for that. Now, Google Cloud Storage is compliant for NIST security control. So if you're using cloud storage as a backup or Google Cloud, you're okay. But just know that Google Meet does not meet the requirement. Another common video conferencing tool, Zoom. Zoom is great. I've used it for family stuff. But there's one thing that came up recently during the COVID outbreak is that there's some known security issues. So just be careful with this collaboration tool. It's also what I kind of call a one-trick pony, meaning that it's a great tool to use, but if you're going to be buying a subscription for that and you want some added benefits, you're not really going to get that. It's going to give you only that one video conferencing capabilities. And then the last one that we're going to do our demo on is Teams. Teams is included with all Microsoft 365 subscriptions. You may not be fully familiar with Teams, but maybe its previous name, Skype or Skype for Business. It took over in 2019 as a replacement for Skype for Business. It's fully integrated. Neat little fact, you can actually integrate third-party applications into it. And it is NIST compliant. And there's a lot of other video conferencing tools that they're constantly trying to keep up with their competition there of increasing from 4 screens to 9 screens. So you're going to see a lot come out with that. So keep track. If you do have Teams, that's a great tool to utilize. Data sharing tips, a couple things. When you are sharing data internally and externally, make sure you tell other parties, whoever is going to be sharing that data, if it's confidential information, because you don't want them to think that they could share it outside of it if it's something that needs to have some sort of company confidentiality. Additionally, make sure you are sharing copies for collaboration purposes, saving an original just in case something gets mixed up with that. Sometimes someone makes changes that they were working on a file and it may be corrupted. So just be careful. If you have software that allows you to track changes, that's also good to know who made what changes when. And lastly is be careful that you're not putting all your eggs in one basket. We recommend, if you can, get a third-party cloud-to-cloud backup solution for any data sharing software. It ensures that your data is backed up in a transparent way because you can check to see that backup happened, and it will allow you to restore prior iterations of that data if need be. So some kind of cool tips on the data sharing. Other things are video conferencing. So if you've not used video conferencing much, when you're having those conferences, I know everyone kind of jumped in here. Some of you had video up, some of you didn't. We were kind of guilty of not having too much video up because we had some of the screens on. But try to get video whenever you are. It again brings that human element into it. It also helps with if you've got any type of things that would normally have a conversation in chat for sarcasm. Sarcasm doesn't go over too well when it's typed. Sarcasm goes over really well when it's a video conference. For those of you who are working remotely or have been working remotely, being able to blur your background is huge. I've got young kids. It prevents the streaking from behind me if they run by. So make sure that you know how to change that background, blur that background. And cameras, make sure you got the right camera angle. Some of you are working on more than one screen. Make sure you know where that camera is, but also, don't chop off your head and don't be too far down in the video itself. But always, 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 if you've got the opportunity to have video there, it does generate better teamwork and rapport and trust if you've got your video on. Plus, it makes sure that you're not always in your sweatpants. So I know I ran through a little fast there at the end, but I want to make sure we have enough time for Rick to do his live Teams tips and tricks. So he's going to show you some cool tools, and I'll allow you to show how you can collaborate in what we utilize here, which is Teams, and hopefully you can take some things back to your organization and for yourself. So Rick, it's all you.
Yeah, Mike, thanks. I'm going to share my screen here, so it'll take a couple of seconds till it pops up, but then we'll get going. And okay, oops. All right, hold on here. Sorry about that. All right. Okay, so now Mike and everybody, can you see my screen? We're looking at the 9 pane so we can see everybody that's in the meeting right now, correct?
Yes, sir.
Okay, great. So I'm going to click over here to chat. This is where pretty much everybody normally gets started with Teams, and the idea that it's a quick and easy way to stay in communication with everybody in the team. From the standpoint of a small outfit that was working before the pandemic, there's 14, 15 people here at TechWorx, and we're all in one building. So you didn't necessarily need a Teams tool. If you're in a larger organization, they might be a floor away, they could be in another building. And now with people working from home, you're very spread out and sporadic away. So the chat is a very, very quick way to start to keep in communication with everybody. So there's a couple of different things that will make you a little bit faster and easier and get more for your value in chat. And I want to go over a couple of those first. Now on the board here, you can see that I've clicked on Mike. The first thing I want to show you is with chat, it doesn't necessarily have to be with instant messaging. as you can see here in the main pane, it is about instant messaging. But if we come up top, we've got 3 icons real quick. I can easily start a video call, so then we can see each other and communicate face to face, or I can just do a regular phone call. And the idea that I'm going to place a call and we're going to talk just person to person, but we're not using our company phone system. We're actually through a different interface, but it allows us to communicate via voice rather than text. And then I can also very, very quickly just pop and hit screen sharing, and I can shoot out something that I would like to have him take a look at. But most of you are more than familiar with chat here. And so there's so it's a quick and easy down and dirty way to communicate. But if you take a look over here on the left, you can see some colors, and these are our recent chats that it keeps track of all the people that I've talked to through the organization. I can see how long it's been since I've talked to that individual one by one, and it goes back. And then I always have a running tab of everything that we were talking about. So no matter who I talk to, I have all of our communication back and forth just in case we get lost and go those in those types of directions. Now, I can also click over here in contacts. I can create a favorites list. I haven't done that, but it's very easy to pick those. And the idea, it might be somebody if you're working within a certain team like accounting. And so we're going to have all the accounting team people here, or you might really collaborate with 4 or 5 people on a project. So make those your favorites. So it makes it very easy for you to do those things.
That way anyways, but more digital, so the less people touching hands and paper and stuff.
Looks like we've got somebody that we need to get muted here. If Mike can take care of that for me, that would be great. So one of the things that you can do is also just click on the chat button up top and start to enter in somebody's name. So I can enter in the first 3 initials and I would get Mike. Now I can start with a conversation and it shows exactly where we went, but I can also have 2 or 3 people on this discussion. So I could add in Janelle. And then so boom, I click on Janelle, and now the 3 of us will be able to communicate. You can see that we've done this before when we were talking about a different client. So you have the availability with this chat to talk to 1 or to multiple people. And it also, like I said, keeps track of everybody that you are working with and all your communication. The other tidbit that is very good to see is these color codings. So you can see Mike is marked red, which means that he's in a call. Greg right now is away. Corey is at green and is available. And this allows you to know, well, if I want to reach out to somebody, do I want to call them? If it's red, no. So it's better to use the chat where I'm just going to send them a message. Or I can wait until I see that it's or green, or yellow means they've stepped away from their computer, they've stepped away from this and they're working on something else. So that's a good quick way. Now, the great thing about it is this also coordinates and works in conjunction with your Outlook calendar and other calendars as well. So the meetings that you have set up on your calendar, and when you're out of the office, if you're putting that on your Outlook calendar, that will change the colors automatically for you. So when you have a meeting set for tomorrow at 10 o'clock, if somebody got on here to talk to you on chat, you would be marked red because your calendar is showing that you're out of the office at this time. You also have the availability, if you come up here into the area here, that you can actually change your status. And the idea that I can put it at available, or you could be in a one-on-one meeting in your office, or you could be like, look, I've got a deadline of 4 o'clock that I've got to get this report out. I'm putting myself at do not disturb. I'll get back to you, but please don't bother me. So you have a lot more control. And the more you get used to using these types of things, the better it'll be for you, and the more efficient you'll become at communicating with everybody. So I'm going to go back and show you, just in the idea of sending a chat, 2 little things that are really good. So normally if Mike would be at red, and I would put something like, do you have time for a quick review of OCP? And boom. Now, when I hit that, automatically, well, if you would have seen real quick, there was a check mark. That means that it got sent and Mike hasn't seen it. Now there is the eyeball and the eyebrow over it, and boom, it shows that he's seen it. So now I know that Mike has acknowledged it. I know that he has it, and he's also given me a thumbs up. He could give me different types of emojis, whether he wanted to put a sad face or an oops, surprise. I didn't know we were going to talk about that. So lots of different ways to communicate more and very, very quickly. The thumbs up works tremendously for me dealing with people. You send something out and they said, yep, I'm on it, and you just give them the thumbs up. So now you're going back and forth. So I might say, okay, Mike gave me the thumbs up, or give me a few minutes. I'm in a great webinar. I'm going to be like, great. So I'll touch base in 30 seconds or 30 minutes. But in this case, we're going to do seconds just because it's faster for you. Now, before I send that, I want to show a couple of other things. Is that I can add in a delivery option in the idea that I have it standard that it goes out, or I can mark it important. If I mark it important, then the red comes and it screams out, you need to pay attention to this. Well, that's great, but other times it's even more than that you need, and then you can say that it's urgent. Now, as you can see, it will notify the recipient every 2 minutes for 20 minutes. So if it's marked urgent in the idea your boss walks in and says, I need an answer in the next 10 minutes on this, and I need to rely on somebody else within my team or somebody else within the company to get some information before I can reach out to them, they're going to see this even if they're marked red, and it will keep tagging them every 2 minutes. It'll keep popping up until they acknowledge it and get involved. This is a really great tool to make sure that when you're communicating with somebody that you're expressing, this is something that's just standard. Okay, great. Or no, we need to address this immediately. We have a client that's in trouble, or the boss needs this right away. Those are the types of things that can really make you a lot more efficient at it. So I'm just going to move this back to standard because this isn't urgent by any means. But then there's some other things that I can do from a communication standpoint. I can add in some different emojis. I can add in a GIF if I would like, and these different things pop up. Or I could add in some stickers. And these things are kind of fun. They normally in our organization get passed around on Fridays more so than Monday mornings, but it is a great way to keep everybody's spirits up when they're communicating, and it makes it more personal. Just in the idea of that's the flair and the comedy and the personalities of the people that you work with every day. And since you can't be with them, it's a way for them to express themselves when they're not in the room with you or in the office with you. So lots of different things that you can add on is, some of those fun things are there. And then there's other ways that there's a direct link to YouTube if you have to share video, maybe in marketing. We have forms that we were dealing with earlier in the idea of creating a form that would allow you to ask a question. So if you were talking to 5 or 10 people, you could create a poll. So lots of different things to get in there. But the one I really want to show you, because it gets into collaboration, which happens a lot in the world, is the idea that I'm going to go grab a document here, and here we'll go just pick anything here, and the idea 22 responses that I'm going to add in. So it's adding that up, and I can see from the green bar, once it's all the way up there, I can send it out that it's ready to go. So now I can send that out, and now Mike has that. He can take a look at it. Now I can see that the check mark that it's there. And then once Mike looks at it, I know that he's operating and working with that right now. So this allows you to collaborate with anybody in your organization. So Mike can open this right now. And Mike, go ahead, and why don't you request control and open that. We can show how we can collaborate.
Hey, Rick, open it up for that end so we can do that collaboration.
Okay. All right. As you can see, I've also made Mike the availability to have control on this. So I'm going to open this up. And now you can see down here in the lower corner, now Mike has TechWorx. So these are 22 responses for sales objections. It's not a good time to buy. So we can go through and we can start to communicate and work on this document live and at the exact same time. Now, one of the things that we can do from a live standpoint is you come up here from editing, you can click editing here, and then we can make a direct change. And the idea, go ahead, Mike, and feel free to make a change. Okay, so so quickly he makes a change, and away we go. Now another thing that we can do is in the idea of reviewing. So then I could come in here and say, not sure we want this in this document, and now it's marked red. So the reviewing allows you in the idea that you might be communicating in different times. Somebody can mark something as reviewed. Mike can make a change if we're working hand in hand at the exact same time. Another thing is that we have a conversation area, and this really works when you're working from the standpoint of 4 or 5 people. We could all start to put things that we want to talk about in here. So if you're working with a team of maybe 5, 6, 7, they can all put comments into here into this conversation so we can see rather than necessarily going through and everybody talking at once. So you might say, hey, I've got an idea. Why don't we do this? And it would be in the conversation. So as your groups are either one-on-one or 1 to 50 or 1 to 25, you have different ways to make it easier for everybody to get involved with it. Just like you would be in a room with a whiteboard and you just wait your time. Now you can put stuff in conversation. So really some cool stuff that can make your collaboration much easier. And we're going to close this out and then we're going to start to look at the teams. While we're doing that, any questions so far from the standpoint of what we've covered? Anything in the chat, Mike? Anything that we would that anybody would like me to go over real quick again?
I'm looking here, Rick. I'm not seeing any questions pop up.
Okay, great. I'm going to click over to Teams, and we're going to get into stuff now. For this demo, I came up with a demo team, and it's Cray-America Industries, and it's a new client ramp on, and basically. Looked at it from the standpoint that I'm in account management and sales. So this is something that I can walk you through that would normally happen from the standpoint of something going on here at TechWorx. So one of the nice things I can do from the standpoint of these teams is I can click on these icons and I can see multiple things that we're going to go over in the demo. So I'm going to click on there and I'm going to go to general. So now we're in the general team for Cray-America and ramping this on in the idea that we have sold a customer and we're about ready to bring them over to our organization and some of the steps that we do. So this is just a general area that I have control over to add more people that might be involved within the organization. I can just click very, very quickly and then type somebody's name in, like Guy White, who is one of our engineer people. So I can click it and then just hit add. And now Guy will get notifications and he will become a member at any time. Now, you can create channels within the team. And if you see here over on the left, you've got Cray-America, the new client ramp on, but I've got a couple of channels. That's the general one that we're on right now, but we have phase 1, which is finalize the IT assessment, phase 2, which is the implementation of a new firewall, and then phase 3 is adding agents. So if there's multiple steps or multiple tasks that you're going to do within this team, you can create those with different channels. So it's a really quick and easy way to keep you very on point. And the one thing that I want to stress by using these teams is now you're going to communicate with the people that you have assigned to the team and just specifically them. Now that keeps you not only on point, but what it also does is it keeps your inbox from just getting out of control. Because now instead of conversing back and forth through email with 4 or 5 people within your team in your company, email used to be the main form. You'd send out an email. Hey, does anybody have this document? Does anybody know this? And then everybody would respond, and you get into those big respond to alls. And next thing you know, you've got 7, 8, 10, 12, 15 emails about one quick question. So this will allow you to stay on here. So when we're on the channel of phase 1, the final IT assessment, we have our posts. And this allows us to actually just enter any information about what we would like to discuss about this phase. I also have my files. So if there are certain documents that I would want to have up here, whether it's our customer service master or sales questionnaire, I can store these. Now with Microsoft Team, it is also backed up with OneDrive and SharePoint. So everything is here, no matter if I'm in the office, if I'm on my cell phone, if I'm at my home desk at my house, or I'm on vacation, as long as I can get to my Teams, I can get there and I can go to the files, and we all have access to it so we can collaborate at the same time. It's up to date, it's up to the minute, as a matter of fact, and away we go. Now, so you get the idea of the different channels within a team, but the great thing is Microsoft lets you get even more productive with different apps that you can add on. And I just click the add button, and there's so many things that you can bring. Now, a lot of these, as you can see, you start to notice the Microsoft and the idea that that is SharePoint, that's Excel, we've got PowerPoint, but there's also all these that are available that are third-party solutions that you can add on. And these vary in cost. Some are free, some cost you, and some cost you depending on how much level that you want to add functionality to you. But the more you play with these and the more you get to know these, the more efficient and the more collaborative and the greater the team and the channel will be. Trust me. And one of the ones that I use a lot and we use a lot here is Planner. And this is a really great tool. It comes with Microsoft. It is free with Office 365, and it's a really great tool. And I'm going to go a little bit deeper into here on how you can keep your team and you on pace. So I added in apps beforehand, and I created the IT assessment app. So Planner. So I'm going to click on this. So when we bring on a new customer here at TechWorx, the one thing that we want to do immediately is make sure that we have a firm understanding of everything that they have in their IT universe and in their systems. So there are a couple of things that we need to do before we get into working with them, even after the sale, is that we want to make sure that we have a full comprehensive knowledge of what's there. So that's phase 1. So there's a couple of things that need to be done in that phase. 1, we need to set a meeting with their IT department. So 2, we have to finalize the IT assessment with a client. And then 3, we have an internal assessment with our team in here with engineering. And then we also put information into another piece of a software solution that we use to help manage them day to day. These 3 different columns are called buckets. So just like we had a team that started out with Cray-Merica, and then the phase is final IT, now we have buckets of things that we need to do, and we need to get people organized and things of that nature. So I'm going to go into one of the tasks. Go ahead, Mike.
Got a quick question here,
yeah.
Rick. So if you're looking to upload a document directly from an email, can you do that into Teams in order to add to some of this?
From an email?
Yep.
That's a good question. I do not know. I've never done that direct from an email. I know that what I've normally done is taken the long way there, is save it to my desktop and then pop it up. But there might be a drag and drop feature. We can look into that. That's a very good question. I'll find out for you. Sorry, I don't have the answer right now. So let's go into this task of setting a meeting with Cray-Merica IT, and I'm just going to click on it. So we got a lot of information in here in the idea that Rick Gagnon is assigned to it. It's in the to-do bucket. Now we have a progress meter in here, and the idea is it not started, in progress, or completed. I've marked it in progress, and there is a priority level. We've got the urgent, we've got the important, and medium and low. Right now it's marked important. Also, the due date is the 15th. It's tomorrow. So it's in progress. I know that he's been working on it, or other people on my team will know, and it's marked important. And then there's notes and the idea that Rick wanted everybody to know that he left a message for John to set the meeting. He's going to be calling or emailing him if he doesn't hear from him on Friday. So now everybody on the team or management can come in here and look and see what's going on with this. So good information. Now, one of the other great things that I find is very, very useful are these tabs. And these are completely customizable and you can tailor them to your company. What I've done here is I broke them out by departments within our company or people that might touch some of the tasks that we deal with. So we've got sales, we've got engineering, we got administrative, we've got our help desk, we've got marketing, and then we've got the client. Well, this is a meeting with Cray America IT, so that's a sales, because Rick's in accounts and account management, that's going to be sales, and it also deals with the client. So I've marked those so that I know who and what it's touching. So when I close that, now I go back here, I can see set meeting with Cray America IT. It's due on the 15th. It's marked important and Rick is handling it. I also know that this task is dealing with sales and it's also dealing with a client. So as I look over to my other buckets, again, another sales and client is the actual IT assessment. And attached here is the actual service master, so we can go in. And as we start to find out information or other team members might know some of this stuff, they can come in here and collaborate and start to change the document itself and save things for it. So again, we are up to date and everybody has the information while we're editing and going over the things like we did before when Mike and I were collaborating in chat. So we're very quick and very fast within this channel that I didn't have to send an email. Guy or Janelle or Mike who are on this team can come in and easily make a change and it's been updated. So I can close this out. So you see these types of things, but here's where I really find it's great when help running a team and managing a team. I have the board level, but I also have the chart level. This shows me what's going on everything that we need to get done in phase one of finalize IT. So I can see the status, I can see the buckets, but here's another great thing is I can look at it from a filter standpoint. So I could look at it by the label and I'm going to say, you know, which ones deal with engineering? And I click on engineering and then boom, there's only 2 tasks. They're in the internal IT assessment and here are the actual tasks. So you can really go in and filter and do different things that make your data a lot faster and a lot easier to deal with and see, whether it's by date or by priority or by label. That makes it very easy for you to work with your team. The last thing is also the schedule and the idea that now I can see it from a calendar standpoint and I can move and drag things if I wanted and if I wanted to change the dates and the times of setting that meeting. What that will do is it will change the task on the board. The person that's assigned to would get the notification. So you're moving very, very quickly from managing your group and your team. So those are some of the really good tips and tricks that I wanted to show you that we use here. I find that the app planner is a tremendous asset for us on keeping us on task. One last thing about Planner is you can create templates. So if there's certain things that you do over and over again internally or with a customer, once you create that template, you can copy it and then you can change the people who will do the tasks, but you have your standard buckets and your channels already set. Again, real easy. You just come up here to the plus sign and you can add in anything, a lot of different things that can make you a lot more productive in your workday and work with teams. So I'm going to open it back up to questions, and Mike, feel free to wrap us up here.
Okay. Are there any other questions for Rick or I or anyone on the team here? By the way, Molly, I did find a answer to your question, so I'm just going to put that up now in the chat. So give everyone a minute to any questions there, or feel free to come off of if you want to use your mic, you can. All right. Well, not seeing any questions pop up. We want to thank everyone for coming out. We look forward to doing the presentation next week. on the new norm for business continuity. So please join us at the same time from 3 to 3:45. I know we went a little over today, but thank you again, and we appreciate you joining us today.
Thank you, everybody. I hope you have a great day and a great weekend. Stay safe and stay healthy out there.